So thanks so much. And first of all, a big shout out to gasworld. You got involved in this issue early in the pandemic and early in 2020 and have stayed with it. So, and have been a critical bridge to industry. So thank you very much for hosting this conversation. So you did a great job introducing Every Breath Counts Coalition. We are now more than 100 members strong. We weren't always. We grew exponentially during COVID. So prior to COVID, we were a group, a very broad group, including industry, as you mentioned, that really took on the leading infectious killer, which is pneumonia. A lot of people still don't know that, but pneumonia kills more humans than any other infectious disease, 2.2 million roughly each year. So we were busy working away on helping countries reduce those deaths prior to COVID, and then COVID hit. And we saw what you saw and what your audience saw unfold over 2020, shortages of oxygen. Who can ever forget those images? We must never forget those images of families lined up with massive oxygen cylinders, sometimes sleeping overnight, to refill them and take them home, to try and keep a loved one alive because the hospitals had run out. Or patients in the parking lots of hospitals because there were no beds available, trying to get oxygen, in the back seats of cars, and I could go on. So many of the COVID deaths, and we saw many millions of COVID deaths. There were actually 10 million COVID deaths in 2021 alone. A lot of them were due to lack of access to oxygen. So our coalition, luckily, had a lot of the experts in it that focus on respiratory therapy because we'd been working on pneumonia, and we quickly mobilized them to shout, shout, shout throughout 2020 to see if we could get a global response to help countries and hospitals secure emergency oxygen. And we really, really stamped our feet during 2020. And then in 2021, we got what was called the ACT Accelerator Oxygen Emergency Task Force, which was a collection of global health agencies that put together what was actually a remarkable effort to help more than 100 countries. And I think $1 billion has come through that effort to date, and it's still continuing in another form. So that's why I think we sort of ended up playing, our members ended up playing a leading role in medical oxygen, and we're still with it because we haven't been able to close the gaps. And what keeps me up at night is if another respiratory pandemic hit tomorrow, I'm not confident that we wouldn't see happen again exactly what we saw happen in 2020, 21, and 22. So we have to keep going until the job is done.